Hello, this is Dr. Michael Greger coming to you live from my treadmill, my stationary treadmill, so I don't make people nauseous. For those of you unfamiliar with my work, every year I read through every issue of every English language nutrition journal in the world, so busy folks like you don't have to. I then compile the most interesting, most groundbreaking, most practical findings in new videos and articles I upload every day, nearly every day, to my nonprofit site, nutritionfacts.org. Everything on the website is free. There are no ads, no corporate sponsorships, no kickbacks, strictly non-commercial, not selling anything. Just put it up as a public service, as a labor of love, as a tribute to my grandmother, whose own life was saved with evidence-based nutrition. I know things can be confusing out there, particularly in the field of nutrition. That's why I started the website, and I'm so excited to share it with everybody. If you want to support my work, 'tis the season for generosity. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. You make a tax-deductible donation to nutritionfacts.org by going to nutritionfacts.org/donate. I believe that's where you can find it, or I think there's a donate button just right on the homepage if you want to support our work. Happy holidays, everyone. Let's get to your questions. First one on the list, let's see, is I've been reading studies about methionine and glycine. Is methionine really bad, or rather is the methionine-glycine ratio? So I actually talk about both of those. I have a section on glycine and a section on methionine. No, having lots of glycine doesn't eliminate the risks of methionine. The most powerful thing that we know of in terms of anti-aging is methionine restriction, which one can do by restricting one's protein intake to recommended levels, 0.8 grams per healthy kilogram body weight, and shifting from animal-based protein sources like meat to plant-based protein sources like beans. Next up, B12 supplements. Oral B12 supplements give me headaches. I've never heard of that before, but injections do not. Are they just as effective? Sure, but they're more risky, and you have to pay for them. But yeah, it will get B12 in you. C15. I looked into this. There's a question about pentadecanoic acid. I did a brief survey of the literature, and it looks like just industry propaganda, but I saved a bunch of articles, and we'll do a deeper dive. What's my take on B complex and the utility for longevity? Well, B vitamins, like all vitamins, are by necessity critical to exist. Forget longevity, just to live. But thankfully, we can get all those other B vitamins from healthy food sources like folate, from beans and grains, lentils, wonderful, etc. You don't need to take pills. I have read that certain spices contain cancer-promoting, estragole and methyleugenol. Is it safe to eat a mix of a gram of them today? Use it in chai tea. I actually looked into this when I was doing my fenugreek series because it has some estragole in it. It turns out that we are much better at detoxifying the substance than rats are. And so based on rodent studies, there was concerns. I think the only spice that at like normal doses, like you're describing, that would be concerning is tarragon. So I did a video about how don't eat too much tarragon. But other than that, drink your chai tea. Go for it. In fact, I have some right here. Okay. I said in a previous Q&A that we should go wild on fruit. Does that also mean we can go wild on dried fruit, which means probably containing a lot of sugar? Well, there are a lot of dried fruit has sugar added to it. Why? Because it's a way to add weight, which is how they typically sell it, without adding much cost. And so I do not think we should get sugar added anything. But in terms of dried fruit, it is certainly concentrated in calories. That's why if you want to actually gain weight, eating something like trail mix, nuts, seeds, nut butter, seed butter, avocado, and dried fruit is a good way to gain weight. You can nosh on it all day long and increase your caloric intake. But if you're not concerned about your weight, what a wonderful, healthy snack. And it's not, you don't just have to go dried fruit. There's also freeze-dried fruit. There's freeze-dried bananas and strawberries and all sorts of things. That is something that I take on planes, right? Super light. And it's like I remember the astronaut ice cream. I remember as a kid, I got some astronaut ice cream from the Smithsonian Museum or something. And it's just like crispy and delicious and just melts in your mouth. Anyway, and way you don't have to worry about the polyphenol oxidase in the banana. So actually this morning on my groats, I had some freeze-dried banana. So like the flavor of banana, but I didn't want to undercut all those polyphenol goodies in the berries and cocoa powder. Anyway, they're expensive. Freeze-dried fruit is expensive, but buy it in bulk and it's a lot cheaper. And you're gonna eat a lot of it because it's delicious. Is malic acid or citric acid harmful or beneficial for health? I make candies, and some of it is really high. Well, yeah, but presumably your candies have a lot of sugar in it, which is typically how you make candy. So no, candy's not good for you. So the problem with your candy is probably the sugar, not the malic or citric acid. Yeah, no, the only problem, I encourage you to get all your organic acids from whole food sources like citrus. Just make sure to rinse your mouth out with water after eating or drinking anything sour so you don't hurt your dental enamel. Is fresh amla better than powder? Oh, nasty. So yeah, if you actually go to some Indian grocery stores, you can find in the frozen section, you actually find actual amla fruit as opposed to powdered dried amla fruit, dried Indian gooseberry powder. I tried it, absolutely inedible. Ugh, nasty. I mean, the powder isn't much better, but at least you can just put it in a smoothie or something. Forget about it. I have no idea how I would use it. I don't know what people do with it. Yikes. It's nasty. But I mean, it's healthy. I don't know if you don't mind the taste. Ugh. Why, after my publisher declined my proposal on how not to die from cancer, did I not dump my publisher immediately? Well, for the cancer series, I may actually go the self-publishing route. We did that for the first time. Actually, the kombucha, not the kombucha. Funny, I'm just doing research on kombucha today. There's actually some human clinical trials, finally, as of 2024. So I got kombucha on the mind. Oh no, my Ozempic. My Ozempic book, as a trial run, we self-published an Ozempic book rather than go through a publisher, mostly just because we wanted to speed things up. It takes like a year. You give the publisher a manuscript, and it doesn't hit shelves for a year, and it's just like too frustrating. I wanted to like hit shelves next week. So we did that with the Ozempic book. It worked out really well. And so that's what we're going to do with the cancer book, which is good because I think I want to do an 18-book series. There are 18 cancers that kill more than 5,000 Americans every year. I want to do a book on every single cancer because different foods, different cancers. There's different foods associated with survival with different cancers. I want to do kind of a portfolio of foods, prescriptions for each different kind of cancer. And so that I can't imagine any publisher would be up for an 18-book series. But hey, we could just self-publish it like that. So that's probably what the plan is, and that will be start in 2027, maybe late 2026, depending on how long I do my book tour for the next book, How Not to Hurt, on pain management. Next up, what helps optimize muscle recovery, strength, and wellness in addition to whole food plant-based diet? Well, there are specific foods. So for example, oh God, you gotta go on nutritionfacts.org. Blueberries, watermelon, I think tart cherries too. Also, in terms of decreasing that delayed onset muscle soreness that you have kind of the next day after a tough workout. And those foods have been shown to help, probably because of the anti-inflammatory effect, and it just allows you to get back to training that much quicker. Is cruciferous vegetable powder like kale powder, as good as eating it? Or are we losing benefits? What do they do to make kale powder? They probably just dry it and powder it. So that it should be fine. I don't know why you wouldn't just eat some kale, but yeah, I can't imagine a green powder that would be healthier. So if you like green powder, yeah, if you can find, is there powdered kale? Probably. go for it. It doesn't sound very tasty, but sounds very healthy. And how not to age. I talk about brewing tea to extract nutrients. Red should be simmered. Black, green. It's two greens. Green, black, green, and white brewed. Have I looked into putting it in cold? Yes. Cold brewing. So in How Not to Die, the original, which I'm working on the 10-year anniversary edition for the end of next year. How exciting is that? Where I talk about cold brewing tea, and it's actually more beneficial. You'd think that the whole point of adding hot water to tea leaves is to extract more nutrition, but evidently some of the nutrients are heat sensitive and actually destroy some, explaining why you actually have more nutrition in cold brewed tea. So I think in Taiwan, particularly during summer months, they do a lot of cold brewing. So there's actually a study that looked into it. And yes, I forget what the outcome they were looking at, probably antioxidant content. And actually had more antioxidant content in cold brewed versus hot brewed. So that's certainly a possibility. That's what I do for my hibiscus tea. I just throw the hibiscus in water and just put it in the fridge and then just drink it like that. All right. Great question. And answered 10 years ago, and How Not to Die. Any more updates? On omega intake. Algae omega is expensive. That's true. End up questioning the research. Are we designed to need so much? Well, we actually don't need so much. I was suggesting 250 milligrams a day. And so I have a whole video series on whether or not we should all be including a pollutant-free source, like an algae-based source of long-chain omega-3s like DHA in our diet. I suggest it's the data is promising for cognitive health, particularly older men, and something I do and recommend people consider. But you absolutely can watch that video series, which contains all the research, compiled to date, and say, I'm not convinced. Okay. I mean, that's totally legit. Your body, your choice. But it certainly was convincing to me. In past Q&A, I said that a male carrier in hot weather, I don't remember that, but doesn't need to consume salt to replace sodium lost through perspiration. Oh, you have to consume salt, but you don't have to consume salt in food form, not salt. No one has to consume salt. You consume sodium. If we had to consume salt as a species, we would not have lasted very long. When did salt mining start? Right? We broke off from our last great ape ancestor 20 million years ago. There was no KFC. There were no salt shakers. Because why? Because food has salt, right? Fruits and vegetables have salt. Have you eaten some celery lately? So you don't actually have to have salt. You can get your sodium from foods. You have to go out of your way to add salt to your diet. I'm finding it difficult to keep to recommended protein 0.8 grams per kilogram body weight. I'm a 45 kilogram female, so it works out to be about 36 grams a day. Average intake is about twice that, whole food plant-based, which is common for someone who's whole food plant-based, and already eat lots of fruits and vegetables. Well, the primary reason why it's important to restrict protein to the recommended amount is because we want to decrease your intake of methionine, predominantly, and some other pesky, problematic amino acids, which are concentrated animal proteins. So you can do that in a bunch of different ways. You can restrict food across the board, or just restrict protein, or just switch from animal to plant protein sources, and you can reduce methionine that way. So if you are eating whole food sources, then if you're getting 70 grams, oh my God, that means you're eating lots of legumes, right? Which is fantastic, which is the central protein source of all the blue zones, historically, the longevity areas around the world. So good for you. But as long as you're not doing protein powders or things like that, 70 grams a day. That's a lot, but that means you're eating lots of good food. You should be getting massive amounts of fiber, which is fantastic. Question mark. In How Not to Diet, I state that lamb in the U.S. is the most contaminated meat. I don't remember that. I'm wondering why this should be. I'm from New Zealand. Seriously thought lamb was a clean meat. No, I think that the lamb study was was a European study that suggested adults should only eat lamb. I forget once every I forget how many weeks. Due to the contaminant concerns. Why is it more contaminated than the other meat in the study? I would have to go back and look, and I forget which contaminants. I think that was a study that looked at like 33 different carcinogens and toxins, and found that based on that, people should dramatically restrict their meat intake, but it depended which meat it was. It had nothing to do with New Zealand lamb, not something I believe I've ever researched. This is from Alexander, who's a fan and would be very happy, if more and more people would eat healthy. That's good. What do I want to do in the future to reach more people more effectively than before? What do I want to do? I want to. What plans do I have? So I'm I think covering different topics. So pain management book, all the cancer books would be a way to, the Ozempic book was out of nowhere. I'm actually may do a book on ultra processed foods next year as well, if I have time. And so that is just reaching as many people as possible. If anyone has any ideas as to reach more people, we did bring on Christine Dennis as another as a fellow nutrition scripter for our videos. She has a PhD in nutrition, and she's been scripting some new videos, and so that'll expand. That gives me the freedom to do some of these other kind of side projects. And so we're going to I think we have webinars almost every single month next year. Super excited about some of them. And so we're just doing what we're going to do, what we have been doing, but just more of it, in hopes that we will reach as many people as are interested, but always open to new ideas. Hello, someone loves my videos. What do I feed our dogs? I feed our dogs whatever our veterinarian does. I am a veterinarian, very restricted veterinarian, in that I only know one species. What a concept. So I listen to the experts when I want to find out what we should eat. Hello, Doc, indeed. Where would this is from Patrick, where would the place or person be to look for credible, non-biased? Oh, nice, gold standard. Oh, on ice baths, saunas, sports, etc., covering all you need to know about that realm. Oh, wouldn't that be great? Why isn't there a sportsfacts.org, right? God, there's so much crazy misinformation in the sporting arena, kind of exercise physiology arena. I'm all in favor, although I do have a whole series of videos coming out on cold plunges. In fact, I was just talking about new, cool, exciting webinars coming up. I have a cold plunge webinar coming up. Unfortunately, I think anyone who's a fan of cold plunges is going to be disappointed by what the science has to say. More dogs. Does it frustrate me when I see people promoting the carnivore diet? Yes, indeed, it does. Just as it frustrates me when people are promoting a flat Earth theory. But at least flat earthers aren't killing anybody. This is from Sonia. Cooked cruciferous vegetables boost telomerase activity. Wonderful, but not raw. So cruciferous sprouts like broccoli sprouts won't cut it. Does any raw food do this as well as cooked cruciferous? Oh, I don't remember the. I am presuming that was an observational study. I don't think there's an interventional study with kind of cooked versus raw cruciferous. So it may have to do with more about the qualities of people that cook their cruciferous versus the actual cooked cruciferous. I would encourage people to eat a combination of raw and cooked foods, and don't have to cook your broccoli sprouts, which sounds gross. Is it okay to eat Oats uncooked, like cereal? That sounds gross, but I don't I think you can eat uncooked oats. Um, yeah, there's nothing bad that I know in uncooked oats, other than it not sounding particularly appetizing, but that's just me maybe. Martin says the next book was supposed to be about cancer. Why did I change your mind to pain management? I that the cancer book was just going to be a massive. So again, 18 books. I think it's going to be an 18-book series. So basically, my life is going to be all cancer all the time. So I presume I'm going to be doing that for years upon years. So I wanted to. So there's three kind of books I had in mind. One is lifestyle approaches to mental health, another one to pain management, and the third to cancer. Um, and I've been pushing back the mental health book just because there's so little research out there. It'd be a very thin book, and hoping by the time I get to it, that there'll be more research out there. And when I say research, I mean randomized controlled trials, right? Just because people who eat healthier feel healthier doesn't mean it's cause and effect. In fact, it could be reverse causation. Maybe people who feel healthier go on to eat healthier because you don't need comfort food if you don't need to be comforted. And so it's a difficult research question. And so there's just not a lot of randomized controlled trials out there. So mental health is I decided I will just put that at the end of whatever of the 3-book series. And then I was afraid that if I started down the cancer path, it would be way too long before pain was out. So I'm going to spend a year on pain. And then I will. Then I'll be all cancer until it's done. Any suggestions for diet priorities post-abdominal surgery? Well, anytime you are recovering from major insult, injury or surgery, you need to increase your protein intake so go beyond the minimum. So at least a gram a day per kilogram body weight. Increase. Well, I mean, presumably you probably shouldn't have to increase your vitamin C, zinc, some of these other foods that are associated with wound healing and things. Just because if you're eating a really healthy diet, you should be getting massive amounts. But probably the one thing would be post recovery from surgery, and similarly with illness, really bad illness, you want to bump your protein intake up as well. To help deal with you. I mean, that's what antibodies are. They're little proteins, and so your body's churning out trillions of those little puppies to fight off some illness. You need to stay nitrogen positive. Debbie says, I take a D3 supplement with calcium, magnesium, zinc, and K2. Are calcium supplements bad for health? Yes, calcium supplements are bad for health. Check out my video on calcium supplements. No reason you need to take magnesium. You can get it from foods. Same thing with zinc. And you eat greens, get all the K you need, and your body will convert make all the menaquinones you want. All right. Are there health benefits from consuming powdered vegetables to increase your greens intake? Well, there's health benefits to eating more vegetables in any form. But there's no special benefit to powdered vegetables. Best foods from Christopher for neuroplasticity, for healing, for antipsychotic medication side effects, dopamine blunting, time, just lots of time, and eating healthy, and exercising and not smoking, and just taking really good care of yourself. Ahmed says, listen about a 3D printer that makes proteins. I don't. That isn't even a question. I'm not sure what they're talking about. Waffler, really? Waffler says bananas inhibit antioxidants in cocoa. Not really inhibit, but I know what you mean. I know there's speculation about it doing the same with berries, right? Any research yet proving that? What about the antioxidants, other fruits, veggies? Thank you. Yeah, so I have a webinar. I have a whole video series talking about polyphenol oxidase. And what you can do to maximize your intake of antioxidants, bananas or not. But yes, one would expect that to do it to a wide range of polyphenols, not just cocoa, even though that's what the study was done on. Surf Rider says, thank you for your book, How Not to Age. Pure gold. That's very sweet of you. If I add mustard, wonderful, as a side sauce or condiment to normally cook cruciferous vegetables, would that be enough to activate sulforaphane? Presumably, well, it depends on the heat treatment. I'm assuming they cook mustard with heat, and that could inactivate the enzyme, right? So we know mustard powder has active enzyme, right? There's that really cool, and for people that don't know what the heck I'm talking about, there's a whole series of videos talking about, if you type in sulforaphane into nutritionfacts.org, basically it'll pop up. But yes, you can sprinkle mustard powder on cooked greens, and you get the benefits, the equivalent kind of sulforaphane benefits as if you're eating raw greens, or if you hacked and held those raw greens and then cooked without this mustard powder. You can do the same, adding some, wasabi or some other cruciferous, horseradish or any other raw cruciferous to your cooked cruciferous. And so what is mustard powder? Well, mustard powder is made out of mustard seeds, and so you'd presume it would have it. But if they at any stage like boiled the mustard to sterilize it or whatever before you put it in the package, then we'd wipe out the myrisonase, which is what you were looking for. So not sure. So I wonder if there's like maybe some non-shelf stable mustards at some farmer's market where you ask them and they say, oh yeah, it's all raw. I don't know. Or make mustard yourself. I know mustard's super healthy regardless, but anyway, salt-free mustard. Probably the healthiest condiment there is, along with vinegar. Am I crazy, Jacob asks. If including foods with more insoluble fiber helps feed gut bacteria by traveling further in the gut, would chewing thoroughly hinder this? Whoa, helps feed gut bacteria by traveling for. Okay, all fiber, by definition, travels all the way through, comes out the other end. But it does, I think what you're getting at, and this is true for soluble and insoluble fiber, is that it helps, it can kind of trap, and this is, you think actually more of kind of soluble fiber, but it traps calories and macronutrients in kind of a fibrous mass. So for example, if you eat a high fiber diet and chug a quarter cup of oil or something, you actually have more oil calories show up in your stool, meaning they weren't absorbed, than if you ate the same amount of oil on a low fiber diet. That's why eating a high fiber diet can help kind of decrease the amount of donut calories you absorb if you eat a high fiber diet and then eat a donut. And that's just because you only absorb calories, you only absorb nutrients when it actually comes in contact with your gut wall. And if you have a massive fiber dragging stuff down, and this works for carbs, fat, protein, etc. But no, chew food all you want. That's fine. You still have that effect. No matter how well you chew, there's still little bits of groats or nuts or whatever with hundreds of thousands of little cells which are wrapped in indigestible fiber and only opened up by your good gut bacteria, your fiber feeders, and then releasing all that nutrition for your good gut bugs. 1 minute left. Let's see if I can get one question more. Spazman says, how bad it would be in terms of health if I categorically refuse to eat legumes except for soy and peas. Can I get away with eating only peas? And so, sure, you get away. I mean, but dietary diversity is a good thing because, one of the reasons we eat legumes is because they're the most concentrated source of fiber. But fiber is actually is a catch-all term for thousands of different compounds, each of which, all these indigestible carbohydrates, indigestible by us, but digestible by many of our good gut bugs. But each of these different compounds are different molecules that may feed different subpopulations of good gut bugs. So if we want a nice diversified microbiome, we want to eat lots of different kind of high fiber foods. And so by skipping lentils would not be a good thing, and all these other wonderful things. But I'm happy that you're eating legumes, period. But of course, and for some reason you don't want to eat any legumes, you would certainly want to eat more other seeds, right? So whole grains are seeds, nothing seeds are seeds, basically things that you put in the ground and a plant pops up, have vaguely similar nutritional profiles. But yeah, we definitely want to have legumes in the diet. Soy is an excellent choice for legumes. And by peas, I assume you mean split peas. Yeah, go for it. Happy holidays, happy new year, and I will see you soon. Eat your veggies.